Good morning. I'm Alex. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. Okay. What can I say about this lovely person? Um, yeah, so today Sarah's gonna speak for us, because when she walked in the room all bright and shiny, oh, and we had no speaker, that's who you ask, someone that's happy to be here, who's willing to share their experience, strength, and hope. Um, when I first heard Sarah speak, it's been, I think it was like her first year after her first year, or she was just in her after her first year. I was instantly like, she's gonna be my person one day. One day I'm gonna start hanging out with her because she's fucking cool. And over the last couple of years, I've just seen her grab on to, like, really grab onto this program and the women in this program and just give everything that she has received back to the women in this program. And it has been amazing to watch. They say to build the recovery that you want, and that's what I've seen Sarah do this last year. Just really share her recovery, be of service to the community, and um, show people what recovery can really look like. We are not a glum lot. She is an amazing, bright human in this community, and I'm really excited to hear you talk. So come share your story.
Hey guys, I'm Sarah. I'm an alcoholic. Happy 5th of July. We made it through. I'm not a glum lot, I guess, but last night I was like, what's the point of the 4th of July? Like, this was my favorite holiday to get all fucked up, and it was so fun. And then I was in bed last night watching shows. But the difference between this year and a lot of the other years when I'm getting sober is I didn't feel sorry for myself last night. And that was a huge difference. And so I enjoyed fluffing my pillows and listening to the bombs go off. And I was just like, this is fine. And so me and my dog hung out and I really enjoyed it. But glad I could speak tonight or today, whatever. I've been sober since February 20th, 2023. I haven't had a drink since November 8th of 2020. But th those two times are very different, and those two dates are very special to me. It's when my life really, really started changing. And um, do you know those days when there's like life as you know it is over? Like I'm kind of sick of those days, like I've had a lot of those. And I've had I remember feeling that. I guess we can get right into it, but I remember feeling it when I lost my dad when I was younger. I knew life as I knew it was over. I knew it when I had my son, and I knew it when I stopped drinking. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do another life as I know it is over type feeling, because when all of those happened, I thought I had to do it alone. And now I'm like, I'm gonna be okay if any of those feelings come up again, because I've got you guys. I've got you guys, and I'm just gonna stay close, and I'm gonna be okay. Um, but anyways, I'll take you back to my childhood a little bit just because I think it's kind of fun, because I spoke a couple of years ago and my perspective of my childhood was so different. I was so pissed. I was so angry at my parents. I was so angry at my family and all these things, and I thought it was their fault that I am who I am. And so I would like to kind of tell it today just because I think a new perspective will come out. And I think that's so fun about recovery, is that our stories change so much. And I just love like shedding all of this identity, just shedding all of that, and a new story comes in, and I don't even know when it happens, but it just does. And so I'm the second oldest out of four. I have an older brother, a younger brother, and a sister. And my sister and I were very close in age, and we are best buddies. And I love my sister dearly. My sister has pretty extreme mental illness. She's been diagnosed schizophrenic and manic bipolar. She's believed she was somebody else. When I was in high school, she believed she was Eminem's wife, and and it was like kind of intense, you know. And before I'd be like, she's just full of shit. She's just a drama queen and all this stuff. And it wasn't until she was uh pulled out of Target on a stretcher because she thought she was an interior designer, and she had like $2,000 worth of items up on the thing. And the lady's like, do you have money to pay for this? And she didn't. And then and so that's when I was like, oh shit, you know, like something's going on here. But I bring her up because I think my family kind of used her as a scapegoat for all of our dysfunction. You know, I'm like the third generation alcoholic in my family. It's really close to home. My parents uh definitely have a drinking problem, and my family and I all struggle from it. But so there was just a lot of chaos. And looking back, it was kind of fun though. It was kind of fun. Like uh it was just always insanity, you know, like I started going to therapy a long time ago, and my therapist goes, "Why are you telling me this story like it's something you had for lunch yesterday?" And I was like, what do you mean, you know? And was it the knife marks in my door growing up? Like, I don't know. But so I was always kind of like protecting myself and always kind of like guarding myself from anything else that might hurt me. And yeah, that's like a sappy way of looking at it, but that's kind of how I was. And so we all, the four of us, developed these different roles. And mine I took on was, I'm just going to blend in as much as possible, and I don't want to create any more problems for my parents, so I'm going to be as perfect as I can be. And so I played all the sports, and I was popular. I grew up in a small town, and you know, I was homecoming queen. I was all those things. And I went through the parade with one of my, like, the king was one of my, he was a very dear special friend to me, and he wound up getting hit at an unmarked train crossing in our town and was killed. And that sent me into a crazy I I was like, couldn't he have just tied his shoes for 5 seconds longer? Like, I was like hallucinating for like a year in that feeling. And that he was killed when I stopped drinking and didn't have any recovery in place. And like, I didn't have you guys. I didn't think I needed any of this. And I just obsessed over his death. And I would like see him in my dreams and all of these things. And I just didn't understand. And we had so many unresolved issues. I talk about guarding my heart. And he was very special to me, that I feel like I guarded myself so much from him. And so when he died, I just feel like he died and it was unresolved. And I hate that feeling of when someone dies and it's unresolved. But I got through it, and I realized you cannot control anything in life, and you don't know how long people are going to be here. And and they're just here, and we get them for a special amount of time, and sometimes they teach us more after life than they even do in life. And it's a gift. Like, every day is a gift, and I am just like glad to be here half the time. So, but so I uh always thought I wasn't going to drink because I knew my parents did, and they sucked sometimes, and they were hungover a lot and all that shit. And so I didn't until I was a junior in high school, and grew up in a small town, and we went down by the river and we drank Old Milwaukee Light. It was in that silver and blue can, and we called it Old Mud. And I remember I was with my friends, and I took a drink, and I like looked at the can, and it was all shiny, and I was like, "Whoa, like this is awesome." And I didn't like love the taste, but I knew I could drink it faster if I drank it out of a cup. So I just brought a cup everywhere I went with me. And 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 so I knew that I could drink 4 beers, and that would make me feel like a little bit fuzzy, and that would make me feel like part of and all that stuff. And so that was my magic number until, like, you know, the next week and the next week. And I remember I couldn't focus on anything else except getting drunk again. Like, everything else went out the door. But I was just like, I remember my sister and I didn't even really get along very much at that time. And I was like, you got to come with me. Like I found something, like you got to come with me. And like this was like a moment where her and I could bond again. And instead of like her coming with me, she told my mom that I was drunk and I got grounded and I was so pissed off. Um, but so from that time on, like I played all the sports. I would puke before I got on like the state bus to go to a track meet or whatever, and throw up on myself in the parking lot and throw up in between like little events that I had and all that stuff. But I it became a game because a lot of the people in the town, I think, still thought I was fine. Like I was like the good child out of the four of us, And but it became a game to me. I was like, they have no idea what I'm up to. I was ordering drugs online, like you could get like salvia online, or whatever. And and my friends didn't even smoke pot, and I'd be like, come on with me, like, come on, watch me do this. And like one time I just like melted into the mud and they were like, what is going on with her? And so then there, so then what, and drugs, yes. But the thing that I bring up about drugs is I use them alcoholically. I use them to escape. I use them to find that next feeling, just anything to get me out of myself and nothing to, uh, do not keep me in the moment. I remember looking down at myself like there was a time I couldn't find a friend to go out with. And I remember being like, holy shit, like I gotta be with myself. And I remember my hands visually started shaking and I was like, I can't be alone with myself. I hated being alone. Um, so then I don't know, I did all this stuff. I thought I could go to college. I came to Missoula for school and it was, oh my God, it was the best. Like we called it in the dorms 40 real world and 40s nights where we would just watch the real world and drink 40s until I would wake up under my computer desk and the next morning and like not know. And I skipped all the classes and I failed out of school and I started working at a restaurant and I found this group of friends that drank like I did. And it was perfect. It was a dream come true. And I think that's when like self-abandonment really started for me because I started like dating people that were just like, this is good, he can drink like me or whatever. Um and I remember just being like feeling just like a shell and my soul was over there. Like, and I think I spent a lot of my life up until maybe like last year like that. Like it's taken a long, long time, but I feel like my soul has been left in the other room and my body's been over here. And it's starting to come back. But so I did that. Let's see, failed out of school, did all that stuff, and then um and then my dad got sick. And for a family that like didn't know how to talk about like how you were doing or like a cancer diagnosis is a really messed up thing that's really real and we were very codependent. And what's so beautiful about this program is it can heal all wounds, you guys. Um and I say this, she wouldn't care if I said this, but my sponsor has cancer. My sponsor has terminal cancer. And like, how was I drawn to someone who would teach me so many lessons about my life? And then she got cancer too, and I get to have a new experience with cancer. That's just mind-boggling. And so my dad's cancer experience versus the experience that I'm having now with my sponsor is so different in the sense that she's such a role model for me. I had such a fear that if I got cancer as a parent, that I would pass on my suffering to my children or to my child, because my dad's suffering became my suffering. And I realized I don't have to do that. Like, it was like a dad was a year away from retiring and he never got to enjoy his life and he just died of cancer and like all these things. And it was just like we were way too involved. We were changing his diapers and we were carrying him up the stairs and just watching my brothers like throw him over his shoulder because he couldn't walk anymore and all of these things. and talk about someone, we really bonded over cigarettes and Pinot Grigio on the patio since I was 17 at Christmas. Like that was how my dad and I bonded. And then he couldn't drink anymore. And so none of us really knew how to function. But I just remember being scared to death. Like if I got cancer, I don't know what I would do, but I don't want to do it the way my dad did it. So like something help me here. And so my sponsor is teaching me so much about that. I'm like, what do you mean your daughter doesn't go to your treatments and just like hold your hand at all the things and like know every in and out of your prognosis? And she's like, no, she did no. And so it's just such a cool thing that I get to experience it this way. And I do remember when she was diagnosed and she called me out on something about a month after she was diagnosed. And I've never been like an eating disorder person. That was more what my friends did. And that wasn't really my thing. And she just goes, you're just having weird behaviors around eating. And she's like, is there something like going on with you and your dad? Like, is there something that's unresolved from your dad's experience? And I was like, holy shit, And I don't know what happened, but there was a weekend like uh around that time, so maybe it was like a year ago, and I leaned into who's that guy that lost his dad who was Superman? The guy, his dad was Superman and he lost his parents when he was young. But I watched his documentaries and I just had a weekend and I cried for 2 days straight and I got it out of my system, and it was really healing. And I remember it and it was like, oh, I'm going to be okay, and I started eating normally again and I wasn't trying to control things. And um, so I love this program because you think you're unique and special in all these other ways. Just wait, like it'll heal that too. But mm, so yeah, my dad got sick and then um and I will say that losing somebody has made me such a good person. Like, okay, I've got a lot of shit to work on, but like, I'm actually like really grateful that that happened to me because, and someone goes, I think you need to go to maybe ACA because like someone was talking about a dog dying and I'm like, oh, come on, people, like, right. But, and, and so I'm like pretty like guarded in that sense. Like I'm sensitive in some areas and really blocked and guarded in others. But it has made me my dad and I had that experience where like he was my coach in sports and he was there on those real like kind of superficial levels. And we loved getting drunk and smoking cigarettes together. It was super fun. But the things that he's taught me in his death are so profound. And he and I have said this before, but he and I have a great relationship still, and that will continue evolving. And I will always be like a 23-year-old who lost her dad and have all these like daddy issues. And I joke that like in order to resolve your daddy issues, you have to become a daddy. So that's been the work I've been doing. And I say that to a select group and some laugh and some don't. But but um but and I I've always had like this kind of weird relationship with death too. I just think that if we had, I don't want to, I'm not getting preachy here, but like if we had more of a relationship with it, if we could dress the people that have died before us. Like I say this to my friends, I'm like, when I die, I want you to dress me. I want you to do my makeup. I want you to spend time with me and hang out with me. So then I bet your life will change and you're not going to go out there and do some things you would have done before or whatever, I think it makes you a better person and we're afraid of it. But some people are afraid of it. I was terrified, but I see the benefits of it. Anyways, that's my soapbox. But in that experience, I thought, okay, how can I uh that's taken me years. That was 13 years ago that he died. And I just got to that like a year ago, right? But for 7 years I drank for 7 years, and I wanted everyone to think I was okay. Um, I didn't want them to like think that even something like that could screw up my life, right? So I wound up finding like the safest man there ever was, and I married him. And it was like he's so sweet. He's the father of my child, and he's a great safe man, you know. And he was the first person that I ever witnessed to drink normally. I had never met anyone that could just have like two drinks and then they were fine and they weren't pissed off and they weren't like telling, like he just drank normally. And so I'm really grateful for that experience too, because I'm not sure that if I didn't meet him, I'm not sure if I would have gotten sober. I mean, I don't, eventually it could have happened, um, but he did it in a way where he never shamed me or I would do shit like drink and drink and be with his friends or our friends, and then I'd get up and we'd just start walking downtown, and he's like, and you'd become Gumby, like, and your legs would just fall out from underneath you, and I would like spank my head off the concrete and have a black eye, and they'd just be like, oh shit, we didn't know. And so it was like there was still a lot of self-harm, and but he never said, what is this? He would just say, you scare me. I don't know what happens when you start drinking. And so I can go on and on about all these stories, but I will say that like I'm supposed to be here. I when I start drinking, I can't stop. And if I do have to stop, it's all I can think about. And then I'm really, really mad that I have to stop. And I'm just grumpy, and it's not fun for the rest of the night. And then, oh, and I will say happy birthday, 30 days. That's incredible. And happy birthday, Dan. Like, I remember if I could go 5 days, I would be like, I deserve a drink, and like, and I love people who love AA. So you give me hope that I will love AA in 25 years, and if you just stay here, like, you don't have to leave, right? Like, I always just think I have to leave, like, oh, I get it, I gotta go. But AA has taught me that I don't have to leave, so I hope you keep coming, Zero. Um, but I I don't know, where am I at now? Um, but I do love AA, and I am kind of obsessive about stuff. Like, I love just getting really into things and then doing it so much until I can't stand it anymore. So, but that hasn't happened for me with AA yet. But it's also like I'm so glad that I kept myself so close for a couple years, and now I'm at kind of this transitional point where I'm like, oh, I got to go live life too. I got to prioritize my meetings and keep my people close, but I also need to go like talk about how to just be a person at work and not start it off with, hi, I'm Sarah, I'm an alcoholic. But but um mm. So I married uh my ex-husband, and we had some good years together. It worked for when it worked. And then I remembered, I was like, I gotta start fitting inside this box of how normal people live. And what happened was I had a broken cheekbone and two black eyes, and not even that was enough. I think I drank for like 5 more weeks, and I just like didn't recognize myself anymore. My hair was falling out, and my like cheeks were like, I had like broken capillaries all over my cheeks, and my clothes, I was just like, what has happened? Like, that the soul is in the other room, but the body's here. And then like looking down, I was just like, I like hate myself. Like, I don't even know who this is. And I can't even escape anymore. Like, the drinking didn't work, like nothing worked anymore. And and I'm like not even shitting you. I'm not even like trying to be dramatic when I say this, but all of a sudden, like, it felt like my vision was like vibrating, and it happened for about like 30 hours. And I was just like, I don't know what's happening. The only thing I can think of is I have to stop drinking. And my ex and I, we didn't really like talk a lot of like deep stuff. We loved football and we loved comedy and we loved all that. That was kind of our relationship. But when it came to like talking about how we felt, we didn't really go there a lot. But I remember I turned off all the lights and I like got under my covers because I'm just not a very like good at vulnerability. And I just told him, I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I can't drink anymore and I don't think I'm ever gonna drink again. And he was like, oh, okay. Yeah, probably a good idea, but he didn't say that. But he just kind of, we'd kind of been down that route before where I had taken like a week off here and there and all these things. But the way that I said it was such conviction, and I knew it. I don't care if he knew it. I just knew it. And I knew I was screwed because I kind of like, I just, and I still know that I'm screwed. So like, I I know this is a one day at a time program, but I don't think I know that I'm never going to drink again. But here's my problem is I want to live happy, joyous, and free. And I also want to live. And my second problem is what came up for me is okay, I'm not going to drink again, but I don't know if I'm going to kill myself. And that's my biggest fear. So I didn't drink for 2.5 years before I got to AA. And I stopped drinking, and then my friend died and he got hit by a train just that he didn't see. And he just vanished in midair. And I had all that like unresolved shit with him. And then I obsessed over that and I went into this insanity. And I thought, well, maybe, using weed or something will help. And I bring that up just because I used weed as an escape, just like I did with alcohol, so if you can identify with that in any way, and I know it's an outside issue, but the identification part is I used it to escape. And so I did that and I was just insane. And I wasn't fitting into this box that I thought I was supposed to be in. It wasn't making me more normal. It wasn't making me fall in love with my husband. It wasn't making me do all these things I thought it was supposed to be doing. And I just remember being terrified because I couldn't drink anymore and I wasn't getting normal and I was falling out of love with my husband and it sucked, and I was scared and I was sad and we had a 13-month-old at the time and I just remember being like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. And so like thoughts started coming in of just being like, yeah, just your son's still young enough. He's not going to remember you. Just drop him off at your in-laws. Like start, if you die, it's going to be fine. You can just do, all those sorts of things. And then it was my friend who's a nurse. She said, I've never seen you like this before. We've got to get you some help. And she's like, you should go get some labs drawn. And so I did, and everything was normal. And everything was normal. And that's where I've said this a million times, but the self-diagnosis part of alcoholism is, you don't need a doctor or a lawyer or a family member or your husband to call you an alcoholic. You're the only one that can. And I knew I need help. I need help. And the only thing I knew to do was to go to AA. It was my last resort. And I had stayed away from AA just because it was kind of used as a weapon in my family. I had never witnessed anyone have a psychic change from it. If anything, they got meaner. And so I was like, AA's, I don't want to go there, but it's all I knew how to do. And I went up to the woman who's now my sponsor, and I was just like, I need a lot of help. In that, I also developed a addiction to the stock market when I didn't drink, or when I didn't drink anymore and didn't have recovery. And I still love the stock market. I fucking love it. I think I think in patterns. But I developed this really unhealthy addiction to it. And I remember I had lost a lot of money that day, and it was everything I had made in like eight months or something. I like pulled over on the side of the road. I was at McDonald's on Russell. I pull over at McDonald's and I just start crying. And I was like, I gotta get some help. And so I met my sponsor that night at the zoo group after she raised her hand from if she'd be willing to sponsor. And we've been together ever since. And this is where that like how much oh sweet is like the gift of desperation. I don't care. Oh, maybe now I have a choice in who I might want to have be my sponsor, but I was so desperate. It didn't matter. And I didn't know what I wanted or anything. I didn't know what anything looked like that might lead me that into that direction. But the gift of desperation is incredible because I was willing to do anything you suggested because I knew it was life or death, and I wanted to live and see my son grow up, and I wanted to, see, like, I knew there was a lot in me, um, and all these things I wanted to be, but I didn't know how to get to any of them. I knew it wasn't to be a domesticated housewife. I knew that. That was killing me. And but I didn't know how to get to any of the other things. And uh so sometimes, and I don't want to like place judgments on anybody, but man, the willing to be willing is what will get get me to stay here. And sorry if I keep saying you, I don't mean to talk at anybody, but that look in your eyes and that feeling is, yeah, that'll get me to stay anywhere. And so what we did was we worked the steps. And what I haven't ever gotten to speak on before is being a sponsor. So I started working with women over a year ago, and that has opened me up to a level of honesty that I've never like been had access to before. You can only be so honest. I can only be so honest. But sometimes I don't even know when I'm being dishonest, and and my sponsor said it like you work the steps and you have your sponsor and you do meetings, and then your scale kind of goes like this, and then you get a sponsee and you start to go like this. And that was the best visual for me. And to start working with women who, especially the ones who like we have a very similar story, it just brings it all back for me. It's like hard to even articulate, but to watch a woman do the work for herself that I'm not supposed to do for her, and watch her life change is so incredible. To watch anyone do the work that they have to do for themselves is like, now I get what my sponsor was talking about, like I didn't even think my sponsor liked me half the time. And then and then to be like, oh, I get what you were saying. So if yeah, I love sponsoring women, and I love working with women. Um, I have Sometimes I'll have women come over in my backyard, and it's really fun. And yeah, it's just changed my life. But what else could I talk about that's fun for like a few minutes? Um, I right now, you guys, okay, so something that happened to me in sobriety was I was like, well, I got it all figured out. That was definitely in the time that I just stopped drinking until I found recovery. And I kind of pushed myself away from my family. I was kind of like, fuck all of you guys. And I knew that my siblings were still really struggling with it. Mm. And there was just still some scars there left from my dad's death and all that stuff, and my sister's mental illness and all of that. But and she doesn't leave the house. And she's only a year younger than me, and you think I don't know, whatever. But I this program has brought every single one of my family members back in, and it wasn't them, it was me. I was a dick. And I was and I was just so judgmental of all of them and what they should be doing and all of that stuff. Who cares what someone should be doing? You know, it doesn't affect my life. Um, whatever you're doing, like this is the work that I want to do is be able to meet you where you're at. And because all of you have met me where I'm at and you just keep loving me no matter what, you know? And then if you can give that to me, I can give that to myself and then I can pass that along. Right now, I have my little brother at my house who's not here. He didn't come. But you'll probably see him around. I've been bringing him to meetings, but he asked for my help. And I've been such a dick that no one has ever asked for my help in my family, you know, and and he actually reached out and I'm just like, yeah, okay. But here's the other thing is I've worked really hard to get my own house and I got I got I got a divorce. I like moved 3 times in a year with my son and then I just bought a house last year and I've got this place and I work really hard on it and I don't like people in my space. You know, and so I'm trying to be helpful, but here's the thing. You can stay here and you can do all these things, but did you know that you can like have boundaries and lists and things like, okay, if you're not doing shit, well, then you can stain my fence tomorrow. And if you don't do that, then what are you doing here, man? Like, you know, like, like all these things. I live in the gray area. I live in the area where I expect people to know what I'm thinking. And then if they don't, then I get all resentful. And no, like I can be of service and I can help people, but I also and I can love my brother very much, but I also love my space and my serenity and my peace. And so it's totally okay to just, you know, have a talk and have some clarity about what our intentions are, you know? And I didn't know that until 9:30 this morning when I met my sponsor. And but it's really helpful. Um, but it's really, really special because my mom and I have such a good relationship. My mom and I used to beat each other up, okay? My sister and I used to like she attacked me in my sleep, you know. She is I love her. I actually love her so much. She's so fun. Like you know Britney Spears, you know Britney Spears is crazy. I've lived with Britney Spears my whole life, you know? and and the last time I saw her was a few years ago. I hadn't seen her in 5 years. And I saw her at Costco and she had heart-shaped glasses on and there was big sunglasses. And she's like, hey. And we walked around Costco like that. And I love her, you know, and who cares? Like before I would have been like, oh God, there she is again, you know. Who cares? I'll meet her where she's at. Um, my older brother, he's been like my he's probably the only normal one in the family, but he just had his baby and like I'm so glad that I could be an aunt to the baby and like want to hang out with her. You know, that's really cool. Um and and we'll see how this goes with my little brother. But damn, he was my favorite. I have never seen someone so talented and just so special. And of course, I understand the relief he got when he started using, you know, whatever. I can just be for him, be here for him. And I don't get to decide what people need to do. I don't know what you need, you know. I don't know what you need. I don't know what I need half the time. But I have to keep showing up and find honesty. I'm so afraid of that, you know. But I I guess what I'm doing today is I don't know, I'm learning to stay. You know, I've stayed in AA. I've built a relationship with my sponsor. Um I don't even really know how to have relationships with people, but I'm like learning that with my sponsor. And then I have a job. I've almost been at my job for 2 years. That's crazy. I've never. I'm like the runaway kid, you know? I ran away in high school. Like my parents tried to move me and I ran away. And I said, you'll never find me. Like, and so like I ran away and I moved a lot as a kid. So my muscle memory is to leave, you know? I I know that I always have an escape, you know, and I always want to whatever, but I don't have to escape anymore. And that's what AA has taught me. I guess that's, I don't know. Is there anything else? You guys want anything else? Um, but I guess I will say if you are on the fence, I would like to say that alcoholics are my favorite people in the world. I think I think they're the most special. It's so fascinating. You're so fascinating. You're so intense. And we've got all these things wrong with ourselves, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I get so like stimulated from talking to alcoholics. And I think culture has the wrong idea about us, but I don't even care because who cares? They don't know. They don't get to know, you know, whatever. And I'm just so glad that I am one of you guys and I want to stay here. And we are top-notch weirdos and I fucking love that. Okay. I love that. So I will be done there. Thank you for asking me to speak. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. All right, that's it.